So to discuss the legality of the case, we bring in former Assistant U.S. Attorney under Reagan administration, David Katz. David, thanks for joining me.
Great to be with you, Scotty.
Okay, so let's start off with, what does the law say if the crime was committed as a juvenile, but the perpetrator is not found out until an adult? Where do they serve out their punishment normally?
Well, generally speaking, in a heinous crime, the person can be treated as an adult. We don't categorically treat people who are 17 and 11 months old as a juvenile. In an appropriate case like the one here with Tubbs, where there's a 10-year-old victim who's going to be traumatized for the rest of her life, but Tubbs happened to be 2 weeks short of 18, we give our prosecutors discretion to treat the person as an adult. And that's why this inflexible policy of Gascon is really getting him into trouble.
It is, but should there be, this brings up to the bigger picture where obviously political ideologies get involved. Should special consideration be given to those convicted of violent crimes if they identify as trans today?
Well, I don't think that they should be. Certainly, we didn't have a lot of this issue when I was head of the task force for fraud under President Reagan. But you do try to accommodate a particular prisoner. So a prisoner shouldn't be put in a situation where the prisoner is going to be raped or sexually assaulted. But, now that there are more trans people, the prisons are committed to deal with it. And like in the case of this person, the sheriff here has said that the sheriff will put Tubbs in a custodial situation for 2 years where the person will be safe. So no, I think generally speaking, if you do the time, if you do the crime, you have to do the time, whether you're trans or you're not trans.
So are the victims, when it comes to sentencing, ever given consideration or say in punishment in situations like this?
Well, the victims are given huge consideration, both as a matter of state law and federal law. They have a right to be heard. They have a right to have their trauma or other situation considered. And that's why this is like the talk of talk radio right now here in Southern California, and why Gascon really may face a recall and really may be booted from office. Because in these situations where you have a particularly aggrieved victim and their family, and they come forward and they say, make an exception in this case, DAs make exceptions. I mean, we don't have artificial intelligence. We have real human intelligence and discretion. And we used it in the Reagan administration in appropriate cases, and Gascon needs to use it. And if he doesn't use it, you can see why the voters are going to be upset about this and a couple of other celebrated cases where it seems like he's been inflexible.
Well, and ultimately, like I said, I don't want to talk about transgender rights. That has nothing to do in this situation. I don't think that plays a card, except could we see the transgender card being played in the future like the insanity card? And while that might lessen the sentence in this case, as what obviously the lawyers wanted to do, could that actually be a major setback to the transgender movement to be put in that category?
Well, I mean, I think that, people have a lot of different feelings about it. But I think that in terms of the criminal justice system, as I say, whether he identified it as a male or a female, it's unquestioned that when he was just 2 weeks short of 18, he went into a Denny's out here in Southern California and molested this girl and would have kept molesting her, except he was stopped in the act. And you can't have people do that. You obviously have to prosecute them. And the idea that he just goes to juvenile hall now that he's 26, that makes very little sense. But it also makes very little sense to people that a 26-year-old who's been arrested on battery and other charges since the incident when he was just about 18 shouldn't make any difference. And whether it's a he, a she, or a trans, none of that should make any difference. There should be appropriate punishment, safe punishment, but there should be punishment and rehabilitation for people who commit heinous crimes.
David, always great to speak with you. Thank you for giving us a clear answer to a very complicated situation.